Day one of the CrossFit German Throwdown comes to a close with one of the longest events in the competition. I'm Sean Woodland with Annie Sakamoto as 5 men, women, and teams from this semifinal will be advancing to the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games in Madison, Wisconsin. And we start with the men. Your overall standings coming into event number 2 are the same as the results from event number 1. Iurii Marincenco with a time of 3:35 leads Jonne Koski. Giorgos Karavis sits in 3rd. Fabian Beneito and Aniel Akai in 5th place as Lazar Đukić is in 6th place and is trying to get into the top 5 heading into the weekend. This event, 100 repetitions of 4 different movements. You got to do a ton of work even before you get to those 100 single arm dumbbell overhead squats.
Right, 50 dumbbell shoulder to overhead, 50 dumbbell deadlifts, 50 GHDs, just to get to the 100 single arm overhead squats. Your shoulders are smoked, your midline is smoked, and then you get to go back through it all over again. So I think a lot of this is going to come down to managing the reps on the front side of this event.
Let's get to our featured matchup for the men, and for that we send it to Brandon Domain and Jamie Hagia as they begin with your box assignments presented by CBDMD.
All right, thank you and welcome back to the German Throwdown as we're ready for men's event number 2 and our top 6 here on the screen. Top line is going to be Iurii Marincenco, Jonne Koski, and Giorgos Karavis. On the bottom line, Fabian Beneito, Alex Kotoulas, and Lazar Dukic as we're ready for the longer test of day number 1. And away we go as they pick up those dumbbells for time. It's 50 dumbbell shoulder to overheads, 50 dumbbell deadlifts, 50 GHD sit-ups, 100 single arm dumbbell overhead squats, then making their way back through the original portion, 50 GHD sit-ups, 50 dumbbell deadlifts, 50 dumbbell shoulder to overheads. That is a whole lot to say. They'll be doing that with those 50-pound dumbbells. Jamie, what are your thoughts here on this longer test here on the opening day?
Yeah, longer workouts, you always have to start out pacing because you're not, you have to a long ways to go. But you'll notice that right from the start, a lot of them are doing a push press with their dumbbells. So instead of just a strict press, they're going to be getting a bend in their knees, dipping and driving those dumbbells up off their shoulders with their legs. So that's a great start for them. At least that should keep them going throughout this whole long workout.
Yeah, they will have to be going a long way. Jonne Koski, one of the first ones already onto the dumbbell deadlifts. Lazar Dukic on the bottom right and Fabian Beneito on the bottom left, also close to him, as those will be your top 3 out of that first movement. And one thing I'm seeing here on the top left is Iurii Marincenco. He's actually got a partner doing this one with him there. I'm wondering how much that's going to help him out, just knowing about pacing with somebody.
Right, I think that makes a huge difference. To have someone go right next to you, you can kind of see where they're at, where you need to be, how someone else would be doing in this workout. So that would be a really big advantage to some of these other athletes that are doing it all by themselves in their garage gyms or gyms in the local area. I think Jonne Koski has someone in the background as well.
Yeah, just noticing that too. Got somebody there. So this is a little bit interesting as we adjust to this little bit new format that some people are getting used to after the past year with virtual competition. And one other thing with virtual competition is a way to track this event as we go. You'll notice that red line atop everybody's box. That is the indicator for how far they have progressed through this event. The farther it is from left to right, the farther they are through this event. As Jonne Koski already onto the 50 GHD sit-ups. And this could be the curious portion on if anybody's going to try to go unbroken or if they're going to break this up, especially on this first round.
Yeah, these GH sit-ups are really the GHD sit-ups. When it is going to be a ton of your abs, but also your legs. You're going to notice as they come up, they're going to flex in their quads. So that's going to tax that. And heading into those 100 single arm dumbbell overhead squats, that might get a little bit, might be a little bit tough for them, but we'll see.
Yeah, those overhead squats, that's the portion of 100 that'll be in the middle of this pyramid-style event. And once again, these are, let's say, 6 of the top 7 after our opening event. Iurii Marincenco with the lead after Friendly Fran, finishing that at 3 minutes 35 seconds, 2 seconds ahead of Jonne Koski. Giorgos Karavis in 3rd, Fabian Beneito 4th, Lazar Dukic 6th, and Alex Kotoulas 7th place in that opening event.
And these long workouts are really interesting because, you know, the ones that start out real hot and real fast in the beginning aren't always the ones that are going to win the event. So it is a matter of pacing, a matter of being able to hold that same kind of, you know, if you do your 50 shoulder to overhead in the beginning, can you do that, hold on and do that at the end? So it definitely is going to be a race of knowing how to break it up and when to take breaks, as well as you're by yourself in your gym.
Now, how would you have attacked something like this where you're going to go through it twice, but you're going through it backwards the second time and with the fatigue already built in? Would there be a different strategy to it that second time around?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to break it up a little bit more. The 50, even in the first 50 dumbbell deadlifts, that is so taxing. These dumbbells, you know, they get heavy pretty quickly. Jonne Koski's on his overhead squats. 50. So obviously you don't have to alternate, or like, you know, you can all go 10 or however many he's going to go on his right hand before he switches over to his left.
Quick pace here for Jonne Koski, who had about a 10 rep lead over Lazar Đukić before he started on his set of 100 dumbbell overhead squats, single dumbbell overhead squats, just to add a little bit more to that challenge there, as they're having to brace that core just a little bit more than they would have if it was 2 or a barbell.
Yeah, and with this overhead squat with a dumbbell, you'll notice that Jonne Koski, it's sitting a little bit further behind his head, so he's going to keep that over his ankles as he goes down. A lot of these guys, it's a shoulder mobility, a chest and mobility in your upper body. So if you have that, to be able to hold that dumbbell overhead as you go down and descend into that squat, you'll see in the middle bottom, Alex is coming to his toes just slightly, but he's doing a great job of keeping his chest nice and upright. And sometimes, sometimes, you know, one side is a little bit easier than the other. So, you know, your right arm might be a little bit easier than your left with the mobility. So it'll be interesting when they switch over to the other side.
Yeah, and just switching at any point here as we're about midway through this event. Jonne Koski, the leader after 3 of 7 movements as we work through this up and back pyramid. As we're working through 100 single dumbbell overhead squats. A 50-pound dumbbell. They'll have to pick up that second dumbbell that for everybody looks like it's behind the GHD for the last 2 movements with the dumbbell deadlifts and the dumbbell shoulder to overheads. 25-minute time cap does not feel like that's going to be even threatened by any of these 6.
Yeah, with this pace that they're moving at, they're all moving nice and smooth, putting it down for a second, they'll catch their breath and take it back up. You'll notice their hand placement though. Some are their dumbbell is facing, their palm's facing forward, some their palm is facing towards their ear. So it's just kind of a preference.
And this event kind of gives me a little bit of a vibe from something like the Triple G Chipper or something, an event kind of like that you'll see at a games format, and we're seeing that here in the semifinal. It feels like with this virtual format here, for what it's really replacing the regionals with the semifinals here, getting a little bit more creative with some of these more implements like the GHD. So it's kind of added this new twist to this format for these athletes competing virtually, it feels like.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something you would see at a regional type of an event. They have, they have the space and they have the equipment to do that. So it's definitely a nice addition. Nice, depending how you look at it.
Absolutely. As we work through these 100 single arm dumbbell overhead squats, this is again the middle portion. They'll work their way back through what they did already, as Lazar Dukic will be the first one to do that. Jonne Koski right behind him though, a second separating them as they start to make their way back down that pyramid. 50 GHD sit-ups, 50 dumbbell deadlifts, and 50 dumbbell shoulder to overheads, all that remain.
So they've already passed that middle portion, so they're at least you're seeing that daylight at the end of that workout. Just get to those last couple sets of 50.
Now, how different is this going to feel in the GHD compared to the last time through, now that you had those 100 overhead squats added into the mix?
Oh, yes. So now you'll see the fatigue set in. Definitely you're feeling this in your legs, your abs, just full body. Overhead squats are going to be taxing. It's working every single muscle, your balance, your shoulders, your chest, your core, your legs. So that's definitely going to affect these GHD sit-ups. So we'll see these guys take maybe a break for a second or two before they get back down. You're going to notice they reach back with their arms to touch that mat, and then they're going to use that motion to kind of help them come up to touch the pads in front of them.
Looks like a very controlled cycle time at the top, too, for both Koski on the top middle and Dukic on the bottom right. So you can see them kind of holding there for that little half second after they touch those foot pads. Marincenco onto the GHD. Beneito onto the GHD as well. Now the rest of the field, Kotoulas and Karavis, both making their way to the 50 GHD sit-ups. Definitely a pace difference here on this second set of 50.
Yes. You saw they jumped into them right away on that first set, but after all the work that's already been done and those 100 single-arm dumbbell overhead squats, you're definitely going to see a little bit slower.
Yeah, we saw about 330 for Koski before he got to that dumbbell for the overhead squat. I don't think we're going to see 330 to finish the 150 rep portion of these final 3 movements here on to end this one, but he's already through the 50 GHD sit-ups, and he's going to get a little bit more aerodynamic before these deadlifts and shoulder to overheads, ditching the shirt, as he'll pick up those 50-pound dumbbells and start in on 50 dumbbell deadlifts almost at the exact same time as Dukic, which that's impressive because they have no idea where the other is, as this is all done in their own individual spaces.
Yeah, you know, if this was a live competition, they'd be looking over at each other, seeing where they're at, knowing when they're going to have to take a break, when they're going to push that final push. But yeah, to be doing this on their own and to see this side by side is pretty incredible.
And they have opened up a large lead over the other 4 here in this group of 6 that we're highlighting in event number 2 for the German Throwdown. Again, this is 6 of the top 7 athletes after event number 1. Koski entering this event in 2nd. Dukic entering this event in 6th. There'll be a break for Jonne Koski on these deadlifts. Dukic continuing to go unbroken, though.
Yeah, this is gonna, after this workout, they're gonna be feeling this.
And Jonne Koski going with the belt there, it looks like, on the top middle as well. I do know that, you know, he has had that past with injuries and things like that have kind of held him back at times when it comes to games appearances and performing at his best there. So that might be a little bit there just minding that back. But we also see that with Marincenco as well.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move, honestly. 100 dumbbell deadlifts in a workout, it will restrict your breathing just a little bit, but in this, that you're not moving at a real fast, intense pace, like a Fran type workout, I think it's okay to have that on.
And it is a quick pace as both Koski and Dukic have moved on to the 50 shoulder to overheads with both of those 50-pound dumbbells. It was a quicker transition for Koski, but he's broken first after about 15 to 20 reps, it looked like. You can see that red progress bar nearly to the end, but Lazar Dukic is still going on this opening set after taking that breather before picking up those dumbbells, and he is flying through these shoulder to overheads.
Yeah, that pace is... And you know, you see it, you are almost done, you gotta go.
He's going to set them down, and as easy as those looked, it might be air more than the actual fatigue with as easy as he was making those 50-pound dumbbells move. Koski breaks for a second time, and Dukic might be in great position to take this heat of 6. He will break one more time.
That.
Oh, this one's going to be close between Dukic and Koski. Dukic on the bottom right. He will take this one at 12:03. 1 second ahead of Jonne Koski at 12:04.
Wow. That was a race to the finish.
Wow.
That was... Yes.
I mean, everybody knows at this point, this is all virtual. We're in separate places, but that finish is a second apart. That is just incredible every time you see it, whether it's in the same arena or not.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we have 3 of our final 4 here on our highlighted coverage. Finishing the shoulder to overheads. Iurii Marincenco also working on those. Sorry, got thrown off by the the extra participant there, as we now have all 4 working on the shoulder to overhead. Sorry about that, Iurii. Remember, these 4 all in top 7 after event number 1, so Koski in at 12:04 after finishing second in the first event. Dukic at 12:03 after finishing sixth. They're having a great points day, it looks to be. But for these remaining four here in this highlighted heat, it's going to be about saving as many points as they can going into day number 2 tomorrow.
And you know at this point, their shoulders are fatigued, and those 50-pound dumbbells, you see Giorgos throw those down.
13:24 as he wanted those things as far away from him as possible at the end of that. 13:34 for Fabian Beneito, and Kotoulas and Marincenco will be our last two here in this heat. Remember, we have 31 in the field of the German Throwdown, so there are going to be 25 other times that will factor in.
As a gym owner, it hurts breaks my heart to see the dumbbells fly like that, but as a competitor, I understand. You throw those down and you don't want them anywhere near you.
It's 13:53 for Kotoulas, 14:01 for Marincenco, who entered this event with the lead of the German Throwdown. But out of these 6, it's Lazar Đukić taking this heat at 12 minutes, 3 seconds.
Well, it looked like a potential tie between Serbia's Lazar Dukic and Finland's Jonne Koski, but during review, a handful of Koski's overhead squats were dinged for failing to reach full extension of the knees and hips with the dumbbell overhead. It's only a minor penalty. He holds on to second in the event, but that means Lazar Dukic gets his first win of the weekend and a nice 100-point boost.
Here are your event results. Lazar Dukic with 12:03 after Koski's penalty drops him to 12:14. Lazar's brother Luka is in third. Joshua Alchama punches into the top 5 in this event with a time of 13:23, and Giorgos Karavis finishes in 5th place. Your overall standings now after 2 events, Jonne Koski sits atop the overall leaderboard by 12 points over Lazar Dukic. Giorgos Karavis, Iurii Marincenco, and Fabian Beneito are the men who right now holding on to those qualifying spots to the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games. Lazar Dukic with 180 points set himself up nicely heading into the weekend, and he spoke with Derek Forrest.
Joining me now, Lazar Đukić, just finished up day 1. We're going to talk about event 2. That was a midline workout and a lot of dumbbells and things like that. Talk about, or what was it about the workout that you enjoyed, one, and if there was a challenge, talk about that as well.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't that much of a midline workout. For me, it was mostly quads and legs.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that middle part. GHDs, overhead squats, and then GHDs again. My mobility is pretty good on those overhead squats, so I think I did good on them. And then, yeah, just suffer through deadlifts and push presses again. Like, while I was doing deadlifts, my girlfriend after the workout told me I looked like I'm gonna pass out. I like just drop on the floor. But I finished it, and I was pretty happy with that.
Even though he gets a penalty, Jonne Koski sits atop the overall leaderboard after 2 events, and really no surprise there.
Right, you know, it's no surprise, but it's equally impressive that even with a penalty, he's still sitting on top of the leaderboard.
Let's go over to the women's side as they get set to take on event number 2. Your overall standings, same as the result from event 1, with Jacqueline Dahlstrom sitting atop the overall leaderboard. Kristin Holte and Samantha Briggs also inside the top 5, and Katrin Davidsdottir 7th overall coming into event number 2. Let's get it back to our commentators for this featured matchup, Brandon Domain and Jamie Hagia. And once again, they begin with the box assignments presented by CBD MD.
Thank you very much as we are ready for women's event number 2 of the German Throwdown. And we'll have the top 6 in points in our highlighted coverage this time around. Jacqueline Dahlstrom, event 1 winner on the top left, and it's Oihana Moya in 2nd, Kristin Holte 3rd, Sam Briggs 4th, Evie, Hollis 5th, and Emilia Leppanen in 6th, going left to right across the screen for you as we are ready for the longer of the first day tests. It's time for 50 dumbbell shoulder to overheads, 50 dumbbell deadlifts, 50 GHD sit-ups, 100 single arm dumbbell overhead squats, and then back down that pyramid, the GHD sit-ups, dumbbell deadlifts, dumbbell shoulder to overheads. A long way to go with a 25-minute time cap. That doesn't appear that this will be a threat for anybody, but Jamie, what are you looking at here with this longer test?
Yeah, definitely. These women are strong. So these 35-pound dumbbells is really not too heavy for them. You see them, Kristin Holte in the top right, she's just moving that with ease. They are getting a dip in their knees, so they are doing push presses, which is going to help drive those dumbbells up as well. And yeah, they're making it look very light and really easy so far. Great start.
Great start for everybody. We're seeing Sam Briggs break here early, similar to what she did in event number 1, and that worked out for her pretty well with that 4th place finish in friendly France, so she'll be looking to try to do that again. Somebody that I would definitely consider a favorite in this event with her engine capacity.
Yes, and because she's been in the sport for so long, she understands these workouts, she understands her body, she understands when she needs to push, when she needs to drop, and she knows taking these little breaks, that's not going to affect her. You know, it actually is good for her, so definitely very smart on her side.
She'll be the last one of these 6 to advance to the dumbbell deadlifts, as it was Emilia Leppanen and Jacqueline Dahlstrom leading the way. Evie, Hollis, Kristin Holte, and Oihana Moya not far behind, as this one's pretty close. And we've got 3 new faces here that we did not see in event number 1, as it's Moya, Hollis, and Leppanen all making their way into the top 6 after that opening event. And for a couple of them, there are going to be some long shots that are trying to make their way into the game's qualifying spots. Moya entered as the 13th ranked athlete, Hollis 17th, Leppanen 14th. And they all had a great showing in that first event, as Hollis and Leppanen already onto the GHD sit-ups.
And that's the beautiful thing about competing is, you know, no matter where you place coming into this, when it's go time and really whatever events come out, you know, it's really up for anyone's grab. So no matter where you place coming in, that doesn't matter going into this weekend.
And they are stepping up, and that's all without knowing where anybody is. And at the time that this was all taking place, they still didn't know, as we're keeping these results until we air them. So nobody really knows where they are at this point in the competition as we watch them. But one thing also to keep in mind is everybody now working onto the GHD sit-ups as Sam Briggs makes her way there. Once again, that progress bar on top of every box for each individual athlete. That red line, the farther it progresses to the right, the farther the athlete is through this event, as they work through the 3rd of 7 portions of this on the 50 GHD sit-ups.
I think, of course, you know, when you're in live competition, it's great to see where everyone else is at. But the nice thing about doing this from your own gym or on your own time is that you really get to focus on yourself, and so you know yourself the best. So when you get tired, you know you're going to take a short break, but you know in the end you're going to be able to push those last couple reps, or you know, so it's really a nice thing for them and a change of pace for them as well to be in this kind of format.
So as they work through these 50 GHD sit-ups, all 6 here going through, and for a couple of them they may have some training partners. You can see Sam Briggs with somebody next to her. You can see Evie Hollis doing the same. And I believe Emilia Leppanen and Jonne Koski are probably, I believe they're working in the same, that looks like the same gym, so they might be competing together in separate sides of this competition, as Leppanen and Holte onto the overhead squats. Hollis and Dahlstrom now there as well. 100 reps on this middle portion as they make it to the top of this pyramid-style rep scheme. 100 here, and then they make their way back through reverse from what they just did.
Yes, Dahlstrom she is cruising through these overhead squats. You'll notice all of them have their other opposite hand out for balance, and their dumbbell is placed behind their back, their head. You'll see Emilia is a little bit pretty far back. She's keeping that over her ankles. They're all moving nice and smooth. They know they have 100 reps is a lot.
A lot indeed, and what's the effect that they're having, not just from the GHD sit-ups, which would probably be the most notable, but the shoulder to overhead and the deadlifts before, having to do this amount with a single dumbbell. I imagine that's got to be a lot more challenging than anybody might have even anticipated.
Right, I'm sure if they got to test this out, they knew that those shoulder to overhead, you know, they're going to knock them out pretty quickly. The GHD sit-ups are going to tax their core, and of course it's going to affect inner overhead squats because you need all of that to balance that dumbbell overhead, especially because it's only one. You'll see in that middle top, Moya, she has a wide stance. And sometimes what happens with a single arm dumbbell overhead squat is you tend to lean to one side just because of our mobility. But yeah, as long as they're keeping their feet flat on the ground, down and up, their hip crease has to pass below parallel. So once they hit that, they can stand all the way up, and it's counted as a good rep.
With 100 of these reps, is there anything that you would do to try to conserve some energy or some of the capacity that you have body-wise for the remaining portion, especially those 50 GHD sit-ups coming up next?
Yeah, you'll notice like Kristin in the top right, she just switched overhead, so she didn't, none of them are putting it down to take a break too often, because it's a 35-pound dumbbell. It should be pretty light. It's almost, for these women, it feels like overhead squats kind of for them, like a light, like body weight squats for them. But yeah, I think just to conserve energy, you're moving at a nice tempo. You don't see any of them like cranking on it, going super, super fast and getting out of control, with their movement. So nice and smooth as fast.
Definitely, and everybody moving very smooth and very fast indeed, as you see everybody right around halfway through on that progress bar as we are making our way through the top portion of that pyramid, about to make the way back down as we work through the 100 single-arm dumbbell overhead squats, 50 GHD sit-ups, 50 dumbbell deadlifts, 50 dumbbell shoulder to overheads, those last two movements with 2 dumbbells, 35 pounds each, as they put the finishing touches here on event number 2. As we watch our top 6 in points after the first event, and it's Kristin Holte, first one through the 100 overhead squats, and I feel like that's a little bit dangerous for everybody if somebody with an engine like hers is out front at this point.
Yeah, Kristin is such a great athlete, endurance-wise as well. She just has the engine like Sam Briggs, so this chipper is right up her alley, both of theirs. The Dahlstrom is really impressive.
She's moving very smooth, and she had the fastest split for sure on those overhead squats. She's already making her way to the GHD sit-ups, not far behind Hollis and Holte, who did have a little bit of a head start on Dahlstrom after the first 3 portions of it. So now the question is, was Dahlstrom conserving energy for the last 3 portions of it, or is this going to be the trouble spot for her, and the overhead squats were just the strength?
Yeah, in this is they're working their way back down that ladder to go. But so this is kind of that sticking point where if you can push through this and hang on, you're good. But sometimes you will hit that fatigue, that wall. So hoping that doesn't happen to any of these athletes. It is interesting if you look in the bottom middle for Evie Hollis. On her GHD sit-up, she is bending her knees on her way up, which is an interesting technique compared to Kristin Holte and all some of the other women who keep their legs a little bit straighter on the way up. So I might have to try that out.
What would that be trying to accomplish? Because I know if you're straightening out those legs, you're kind of getting that propulsion to go up. What would you be conserving there? Would that be like quad-based or hamstrings, or what would the idea be there?
Yeah, I think I think it's just actually helping, like technique-wise, just helping her sit up a little bit quicker, or that's the style that she goes with. But yeah, definitely when you straighten out your legs, you are taxing your quads. You will feel that. Especially, you just came off of the single arm overhead squats, but it looks like Kristin Holte is already onto her deadlifts.
Unbelievable pace for Holte, and we always talk about the engine for Sam Briggs, but typically on those engine style events, if it's not Briggs winning it, Holte is right there looking to pick up from Briggs's tread there. So Holte out in front, and she's got a considerable lead over Evie Hollis, who's going to make her way to the dumbbells, but it's about 15 reps behind Holte.
Ooh, and I don't want to be these women tomorrow. Their backs and are going to be feeling this tomorrow. But always the first day of competition, it's 2 events. They're going to be done after this long chipper, get some rest and get ready for tomorrow. But got to push this final one to finish the day strong.
And the final 100 reps for Holte, Hollis, and Dahlstrom. They're the top 3 out of the 6 that we are watching here. Of course, there are still 25 others in the field of 31 that are doing the same event, so their times will factor in. We're just keeping up with the top 6 in the point standings coming into event number 2, as Leppanen will be the 4th off the GHD, and here comes Sam Briggs making a charge late once again, as she's going to head off the GHD and picking up speed.
Yeah, 35-pound dumbbells for these women, again, is pretty light, so you're going to see them touch and go. The heads of the dumbbells will touch the ground. They're driving up with their legs, their hamstrings, their glutes. Some of them have belts on.
Making it look easiest is Kristin Holte, already on to the shoulder to overheads for the final 50 reps, and she is moving very quickly through these as she's just making those 35-pound dumbbells look about 15 pounds each.
Yeah, that looks so light, so easy for her. I think this translates a lot to like handstand push-ups, which she's really good at. It's like an upside down handstand, or like the right side up handstand push-up.
I believe that's 25 or so reps,
Wow.
so probably halfway through this final set of 50 for Holte. Hollis now onto the shoulder to overheads. Dahlstrom as well. Dahlstrom looking to protect that points lead that she earned with her Event 1 win, but Kristin Holte looking to put a huge event into that lead as she was third place in Event number 1, just 33 seconds behind Dahlstrom's time of 4:12, but Holte knows it's only a few points difference despite that time gap, and she's trying to close that gap of points in a big way here and might be setting herself up for an event win with a great showing here in Event number 2. Looks like just a couple of reps remaining. There she goes at 11 minutes, 18 seconds.
Wow, that is fast. She breezed through those shoulder to overhead like it was nothing.
So easy for Kristin Holte through that entire thing. Evie Hollis with the dumbbell throw at 11:32 to get those away from her. She'll be second place here in this group of 6. I believe it'll be Jacqueline Dahlstrom, the next finisher.
She's doing a little bit more of a push jerk, so she's going to dip and re-dip her knees, and she finishes up there.
11:51 for the points leader entering this event. We'll have to see how that plays out when we factor in all other times to see if she will hold on to that lead or if she'll stay in the top 6, and we'll see her tomorrow in these highlighted coverage heats. As we still have Oihana Moya second in event number 1, Sam Briggs fourth in event 1, and Emilia Leppanen sixth in event number 1, still working. Again, we're not even halfway into the 25-minute time cap, which at this point, I think that's just a formality that number is there.
Yeah. Yeah, these women definitely don't need 25 minutes to finish that workout.
Emilia Leppanen in right at halfway, 12 minutes and 31 seconds for a 4th place finish out of this group of 6.
I always like to see how these men and women finish so fast, and then when everyone tries this out at their gyms at home, you know, it's a different story for a lot of us.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that I'll try to play along at home on some of these events. I really don't feel like doing that one on this.
You're not going to give this a go?
Okay, I'll probably be convinced at some point, but as we watch Moya and Briggs finishing out, they should be around those final 10 or 15 reps, I believe, at pace. Briggs with a little bit of a lead, and she will finish at 13:12, waiting on Moya to be our last finisher here. So we're just past the 13-minute mark. Moya out of Donostia, Spain. Again, the 13th seed, but how about this story? 469th in the world at the end of the Open. 51st in the world in the individual quarterfinals, and here she is second place after that opening event.
Wow. Yes. That is really impressive for her to do. She looks like she's strong. It'll be interesting to see someone get under some weight this weekend.
And she will be through. Looks like a little scoring error there, but it was about 13:55, her unofficial time. But the heat winner here for this group of 6, Kristin Holte, 11:18.
We had ourselves a battle on this up and back chipper. The UK's Evie Hollis came out hot as the first athlete to the GHD machine and the turnaround point of 100 overhead squats. But that's when Kristin Holte, the 2020 second fittest woman on earth, took over. She was first back to the GHDs and continued to build her lead from there. The final dumbbell deadlifts and shoulder to overheads were just a formality as she racked up an event win and a second top 3 finish.
Kristin Holte, 100 points with that time of 11 minutes, 18 seconds, followed by Evie Hollis and Jacqueline Dahlstrom, as Dahlstrom goes with a first and a third in her first 2 events. Kristin Holte goes from third to first in the first 2 events. Catherine Davidsdottir is 7th. After 2 events, overall standings, Kristin Holte and Jacqueline Dahlstrom tied at 192 points. Evie Hollis and Emilia Leppanen are right behind her, and then a tie for 5th place between Samantha Briggs and Catherine Davidsdottir. But Kristin Holte, after her first place finish in event 2, spoke with Derek Forrest.
Joining me is Kristin Holte, day one in the books. Kristin, I just want to talk about the day. Event one, Friendly Fran, something, it was a repeat from last year's, part one of the games. What was that like attacking it this time around?
I've thought about like if it's actually better not knowing how bad it's going to be, or if it's actually nice to have done it once, but I'm not sure. I think it's bad either way. But when I've done it twice, so I know how bad it's going to hurt. And it just gave me a lot of anxiety going into it because I know it's going to be really bad. But I'm happy with the way I executed it, and it was hard in the end this time too. It did not get any friendlier, but I pushed as hard as I could, so I'm happy.
Event two was more of a midline workout and a little bit of a longer workout. Just what was your strategy heading into this event, and were you able to execute that strategy?
Yeah, I really like that workout. You just have to go, and the weights are not heavy, so there's no excuse to not push hard and just go for it. So I had a plan. I almost stuck to it. I pushed as hard as I could, and I'm really happy with the way it ended, and I couldn't have done it a second faster.
Two Norwegian women tied atop the overall leaderboard after day number one, Jacqueline Dahlstrom and Kristin Holte. And Kristin Holte just seems to get better with age.
I love this tie, Sean. So like you said, Kristin Holte, who's a masters athlete, she's already qualified, really does seem to be getting better with age. She got third in 2019. She just missed the second stage of competition last year by one spot, but she's still hitting PRs in a lot of her training. And then you compare her to Dahlstrom, who's a little bit more of a rookie. She was 45th in the 2019 games. She has won the French Throwdown in Reykjavik in 2019. She was 12th in the quarterfinals when you look at the cross-continental competition this year, 35th worldwide in the Open. So I really like this race in kind of a veteran athlete of Kristin Holte and a little bit more of a rookie in Jacqueline Dahlstrom. And like you said earlier, Holte with a third and first, Dahlstrom with a first and third. I think this sets us up for a really exciting weekend.
Will be fun to watch how that plays out over the last 2 days. And of course, we will have plenty of more coverage to come from this virtual weekend of semifinals. You're going to want to make sure that you keep your heads up for all the stuff we have coming out of the Brazil CrossFit Championship. We will have events 1 and 2 for the individuals for them as well. Also events 1 and 2 for the individuals out of the Lowlands Throwdown, and we will recap all of the team action. So plenty of coverage this weekend to keep you updated on everything going on with these virtual semifinals. Thanks so much for watching this edition of Game Central. For Annie Sakamoto, I'm Sean Woodland, and continue to watch all the coverage we have this weekend of the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games semifinals.